Hey everyone, welcome back to Talk with Coach, the podcast where we deep dive into the realms of sales, leadership, and personal growth. I'm your host, Becca Goldsberry, an elite sales and leadership coach representing Southwestern Consulting. I'm thrilled to embark on another insightful journey with you. Whether you are a seasoned professional aiming to sharpen those skills of yours or an aspiring leader hungry for knowledge, this podcast is your compass to success. Join me as we explore strategies and tactics and mindset shifts necessary to thrive in a competitive landscape of sales and leadership. Get ready to unlock your potential, seize opportunities, and conquer challenges like never before. So buckle up. Let's embark on this transformative voyage together. Welcome to Talk with Coach. So today, my very special guest is a colleague of mine, but not just any colleague. No. This is an amazing colleague who actually went to Indiana University near me. However, he lives, I would say, probably 4,000 miles, 3,000 miles from me in Brazil. And so I am excited to introduce him today. And so let me give you just a little bit of information about this amazing coach with us here at Southwestern Consulting. He is an experienced entrepreneur, salesperson, manager, and motivational speaker. He has a passion for building businesses and people. He has a very unique perspective on business in the United States, South America, and Europe, having worked in the public and private sectors. He's also owns his own business and has an experience in a variety of industries, including multi-level marketing and direct sales, mortgage, real estate, audit, law, construction, fundraising, education, government, entertainment, and financial services. He can do it all, you guys. Like I said, he graduated from Indiana University with a master's in public and nonprofit management. He received his bachelor's degree from the Kelley School of Business in Marketing, Management, and International Studies, which is also there at the Indiana University. Even though I am a Purdue fan, I still love him to pieces. In college, he began his sales career as a top producer and recruiter for Southwestern Advantage, where he sold educational books door to door, 80 hours a week. Some of his key sales accomplishments, included he recruited, trained, and led commission-based sales teams for more than 20 years. He was a top 10% recruiter at Southwestern Advantage his first year of recruiting, which is amazing. And he achieved the top first-year salesperson ranking in the top 5% of all first years, which is just awesome. He is first and foremost a communicator and has the good fortune of being able to communicate in 5 languages, you guys. 5 languages. I can barely speak one, and he knows 5. He enjoys meeting new people, creating genuine rapport, building lasting relationships, and I will contest to that. He's just amazing. He is a tenor and a soloist and has performed opera on Broadway. So today we're going to have so much fun. So let me welcome my guest, Dietrich Willke. Dietrich, welcome to Talk with Coach.
Well, thank you so much. And again, please, everyone, forget a little bit everything that we said, because I'm very normal as everybody else, I think, right? But we just worked very hard. But yes.
You have. Absolutely. And that's one of the things I love most about you is that you are such a hard worker. But I love the perspective that you always bring in our conversations. So for those of you guys, I will say Dietrich and I, we are partners Friday mornings, typically starting at 9 o'clock Eastern until about 10:30 on most Fridays, unless we've got something going on or traveling. Dietrich and I are dial buddies, and so I love his accountability, and it has been fun getting to know Dietrich. But Dietrich, I would love just to kind of dive in. I know you mentioned that your favorite quote is, if you help people to achieve what they want, you will achieve what you want.
Yes.
Tell us a little more about that.
Oof, in life, I think everything that I accomplished and everything that I did, actually, the reason why I love selling so much, um, and the reason that I'm so blessed that I have actually got to know Southwestern, because Southwestern actually saved my life. I'm German originally, live in Brazil. When I moved to when I actually attended Indiana University was in 1997. For a lot of people, they don't understand, maybe don't remember, but 1998 there was a huge crisis. So I actually didn't have the money to continue. My parents, they paid the first year of college, but not the second because it was kind of impossible because of the exchange rate.
Mhm.
And I am blessed that I was able to find Barrett Ward, and that actually recruited me. And Sarah Thompson was actually my student leader, my leader at that time. And through Southwestern, I have learned how to understand the reality of what really selling is, which is relationship. And I think the 2 years that I sold for me was so important, because when you sell door to door and you see hundreds of people, you knock on right, we knock on 40 doors every day, for the whole summer. Um, Life is very interesting. I think God or the universe is very interesting, because I always tell this to my clients. When it's the hardest part in life, when you are ready to quit, when things are super hard, if you go the next step, the answer comes up, right? The answer is there. So this quote actually makes a lot of sense to me, because every time I have helped people or have put the benefit of my client or the benefit of my, the person that I'm interacting, that I'm actually giving service with at first and not my gain, there are some huge rewards. So meaning everything that you actually planned and that you actually do ethically and in lieu of the client, because sometimes our products are not for them. Sometimes they are the people that are better than us, right? But sometimes we are better. But I think when we actually really understand that if we really help people and if we are truthful to what we are saying and we really help people with what we know and our knowledge, this comes back 3 times to us. So my entire life, I am now 49, and every time in my life, every time that I doubt this quote, the universe shows me that it is actually right.
Mm, I love that. So you were kind of one of the trailblazers at Southwestern Consulting,
Yes.
coaching in a different country. Were you the first outside of the Estonia group?
Probably. It was funny, right? Because actually, I'm actually even before. Actually, I actually joined when Southwestern was called Success Starts Now.
Yep.
Right. So actually, I did the interview. Actually, I was employee number 6. Ron didn't exist. Even Amy didn't exist at that time. Right. There was only the only person that was there was Dave Brown, and it was interesting because I'm German again, because of my nationality, and because at that time there was no internet, there was no Zoom. I had to apply for a work visa, which did not work because it was a startup. So one of my biggest pitfalls, right, or my biggest, I have always been able to achieve my goals, and this one was one of the things that I couldn't achieve, which was actually a learning experience. But right now, I realized that this is what I wanted. I was able to do it. I was ready to do it. I did the interview. We got in. Southwest was super grateful. They hired a lawyer and everything. It didn't work out. And then to see them fight. So actually, then more, everybody wrote letters to the government. For me, that was super special to actually ask why I didn't actually. I was approved because I have so many degrees, the government actually said that I had to have a base salary of $100,000. I'm like, I'm commission based. I don't need the base salary. Please help me. All right.
Right.
And obviously at that time as a startup, they're like, there's no way we can do that, right? No one has a base. So that's right. So at that time I promised Dustin and Rory and Gary at that time, they were the 3 people. I'm like, I one day will come back and will join you. One day it will happen. And from that point, I've been always working hard on myself. And then I was doing coaching. And in 2017, actually, Dustin called me. I said, Dietrich, I think it's time. We actually have a leader that actually has opening in South America, which was Lauren. So Lauren actually was married to someone in Uruguay, and
Yep.
that's what allowed me to actually join. So that's why he was comfortable enough to recruit me. So I actually started with Lauren, sorry, and then I actually became a very good buddy with Malka because Malka was also someone that was traveling internationally. She's another colleague of ours. And
Right.
at the time that I was selling, she was in Argentina. So it was very exciting because we both actually dialed together
I
and,
forgot about her being in
and
Argentina.
experienced
Yeah.
the challenges because even though I moved back to Brazil, what people don't realize is that my business career is in the United States. So for me, it was a super big challenge because when I moved back to Brazil, I was talking to my leaders. I'm like, well, I would like to do a workshop, but actually, all my businesses and all my referrals, all my leads are in the United States. So how do I do it? It's like, well, you cannot do referrals, you cannot do workshops because they only can be done in person at that time, right? So actually, for the first year, I actually sold BAPs from Brazil in the United States, 100%, and at that time, I didn't even realize how difficult it was. For me, it was kind of normal. Like, let's just do it. Of course, it's challenging, but again, one of the things that I promised Ron, and when I made the decision, even when I actually started Success Starts Now, is that I normally when I find something that's for me, I burn all the bridges. So I told Ron, it doesn't really matter how much it takes, how long it takes, what's the circumstances, what challenges there are. I'm not going to give up. So in my case, the pandemic actually helped me out a lot because with the pandemic, I finally had Southwestern tell me, "Oh, you actually can do online workshops." I'm like, "Thank God!" And I don't know if you know Becca, but actually, probably I was the reason for the mentoring because Dana actually called me and she's like, "Dietrich, do the following: just book a lot of workshops. I will run them, and then I just explain the company what to do. And if I have to pay half, I will have pay half for myself." And that's when they start realizing, well, that's such a good idea, right? If we had actually experienced people and top producers mirror and mentor you. So I have to thank Dana for being amazing with the mosaic. Dana has always wanted to be someone that wanted to bring like diversity in, and she always understood the challenges that I had. And so that Dana is my new leader. Lauren left, so Dana became my new leader. But both of them, Lauren and Dana, were very, very keen to understanding internationality, the international challenges, and always being with me. So, yes, it was challenging, but again, nothing in my life was easy. When people realize that I did all of this and people think it's easy, it was never easy. So my life was never easy. If you join all this the diversity, it's beautiful to say, but sometimes it's hard because I'm so unique that sometimes I want to find other people like me. And when you're a teenager, when you're early, right, when you're an early college kid, it can be a daunting. So it was never easy for me.
So knowing that you're in Brazil, a lot of your connections are here in the US, how do you approach decision making and problem solving in your business?
Whew. Mm. How do I do that? Actually, the beauty, and that's why I have to thank Southwestern, is because I sold books door to door, because I actually was ingrained into the 165 years of knowledge of this company and understanding the triangle, like the foundation of what represents Southwestern.
Yeah.
I have followed that mentality of make it, even though it's challenging, you will always find a way. So do not find an excuse, find a way. We teach that to our clients, but I live it, right? And actually, one of the beautiful things of being coaches, or me being coaching for so many years, is that we actually need to preach. We cannot just preach, right? We need to follow the path as well. So for me, there are two things that are very, very important for me, um, regardless where I am. So being back in Brazil was challenging, but again, it's a great opportunity. First of all, there are no sales coaches in Brazil. Brazil has a huge problem with selling. There is actually a culture of, unfortunately, that's something we are breaking, but there's a culture of managers and leaders not wanting to invest into the team, which is something that I realized when I started doing approaching leaders here, which is very different than the United States. And so this is always like you can always find an opportunity even in the worst situations. I always tell people like, oh, the market is horrible. I'm like, it's not really the market. Because if you realize what the market is, there's always someone that needs something. Always. The problem is that we don't want to change the perspective of the market, or we don't want to change what we're doing. And so we don't find the market open because we don't want to change, right? We don't realize that the market's shifted. Once we re-understand that there's always going to be someone that needs us, someone that's going to be appreciative, regardless where you are, it doesn't really matter where you are, right? So I never really was worried about it. It's just like we need to find open-minded people that actually really want to grow, and we need to understand who really needs us in the market we're living, because the market changes, right? That's what I tell to the clients all the time, right? We had the huge issue in 2023 with the mortgage and the real estate and all this stuff, right? Past the pandemic, people come to me like, oh, it's impossible. I'm like, it's not really. Because there's always someone that's actually going to sell in 2023 as well. There's always someone that needs to buy, needs to sell, needs to move, right? There's always people that independently of the market need to actually do business. They need to find something. The question here is who they are, right? Is actually doing some research and understanding who are the motivated buyer, right? The motivated buyer, the motivated sellers, who really needs our expertise in the new market. And I think that's, for me, the biggest challenge for people, because it is actually very difficult to change. We always say this to people. People love change, but people do not like to change. And I am part of it. It's extremely difficult. I remember during the pandemic, I look young, but I'm 49. I have horrible situation with the technology. I remember when I had to actually understand how Zoom worked. I'm like, oh my God, how am I going? So I cry myself at night. I'm like, how am I going to do this shit? Right. So actually, change is not easy. But I learned in life that if you do not go through change and if you don't embrace change, you don't grow.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the biggest pitfalls is the comfort zone. And I am terrified of comfort zone. Because once you sit in comfort zone, you're not growing, right? So anyhow.
Well, how many clients have we seen who get in this comfort zone and then they get complacent and they get stuck and they don't grow? I was just actually talking with one of my coaching clients about if your income, if you're in sales, and especially if you're a 1099 or in commission-based sales and your income doesn't grow at least 10% every year,
we have a problem.
That's right. We've got a problem, because then that means we're stuck, we're comfortable, we're not doing the things that we need to do to grow as salespeople, as professionals. So for those of you out there, if you're stuck and you're not growing at least 10% in your income every year and you're commission based, come find Dietrich and I, and so we can have this big conversation. But tell me, Dietrich, what's the best business advice that somebody's ever given you?
There's so many, and I think I wrote one, and I want to remember what I wrote, because there's so many. I have been so blessed with people that came through my life and that gave me so many very, very great advices. But for me, the most important part, actually, and that's something that I learned in life, is understanding how the sales process works, like, and understanding what really sales is. Understanding that you need to build relationships. That's, for me, one of the biggest, right? So one of my biggest, I think I wrote it somewhere, but one of the things I have on my board is that, cold call is cold punishment for people that do not ask for referrals. One of the things that I love about Southwestern is to understand how to how to do and how to create a referral business the right way. I think so many people have no idea how to do it, and that's why they don't do it. They understand and they know that it's the best way, but we don't really know how to do it, and we end up actually forcing something that should be very natural. So once we understand that anything in life and I'm saying this about business, not just sales, because if you have a business, if you have anything, if you're a teacher, you're selling yourself every time. If you're getting a promotion, if you have a business and you have a product that you love and you're telling people that's selling, right? So it's very hard for, I think Becca understands it's so hard when people, I hate selling. I'm like, well, you're doing it all the time with your kids, everywhere you're going, you're selling. So
Always.
what I understand is doing it the wrong way and actually forcing people to do something that they shouldn't be. I think we force people on decisions, and we should not force decisions. We should force whether things people want or not. I think that's very different, right? Forcing someone to buy something is different than making a decision. I think people are used, we have this tendency of not wanting to create, make decisions, and I think we as salespeople, we need to actually be very good at allowing people to say yes and allowing people to say no. People are not allowed to say no, and that's for me the biggest business, tip is understanding that relationships and a referral business is the only way for you to create a business and the only way for you to grow, and actually the only way for you to actually be protected off the market. Because if you really have a referral business, you don't need the market, because you can use your referral business to grow. You don't need to go out there. I always tell it to real estate, like, if there's nothing out there, but you have 1,100 great clients, they will give you what you need. But that's what people don't realize, right? People will give you what you need if you do a good job.
Absolutely. And one of my favorite things to do, and I know you do too, it's that whole networking and building amazing referral partners and partnerships with like-minded people where you can bounce ideas, kind of have a mastermind where you can ask for introductions to amazing people to help you connect in the community. I truly believe most people don't take advantage of that. And you're right. It doesn't matter if you are a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad, if you are a business owner, if you are in sales, if you are working a doctor, a lawyer, a kid, we're always selling somebody something or some idea,
Yeah,
right?
even when you choose to go to the movie, you're selling actually, whether you like it or not. You're making a decision, you're influencing people, you're putting the idea why you want this movie or not. Why, right? We all do it.
Yep.
If you're telling your kids that they need to sell it, you're selling
Mm-hmm.
instead of an ice cream at the beginning, right?
That's
The only
right.
way to do it is selling.
I was going to say last night I had to sell Thad, and the reason why he needed to go take a shower.
There you
Fine.
go.
He's
Yeah.
5.5. So, I mean, we are always selling something to somebody, some idea, even. So I love that. And I know you mentioned like one of your favorite books is Pursuit of Happiness by the Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
I have yet to read it. So I would love, what are some of your takeaways? I think,
Well, I'm very blessed. So being in Indiana University, I was blessed to be the student body president. So I actually was I was a leader at Indiana University. So, and the Dalai Lama actually comes once in a while to Indiana University. Because he has a second cousin that actually has a Thai restaurant in Bloomington, Indiana.
and
It's not
it's so
because he
good, you guys. That
has a.
Thai restaurant is the bomb.
So I was lucky that in my year of a leader, he actually came. So I was invited for the luncheon, and I also thought that during the luncheon that I would actually be so far away because I'm a student. I'm like, there, yeah, it's just pro forma. But actually, I didn't realize that the Dalai Lama actually requests always to have young people around him. So when I actually went to the luncheon, he was next, like very close to me. So I actually was able to talk to him. So while I was sitting there, I was talking to him, and one of the things that I am blessed with is that I ask a lot of questions. I don't care if I'm seen stupid or not. I ask questions no matter what. I treat everybody the same, and I always know that if I don't know, I need to ask because, right? If you don't ask, people will not know that you don't.
Mhm.
So I was talking to the Dalai Lama, and I looked at him and like, it's so amazing. Every time I talk to you, it's like the universe disappears. You're so focused. You're so dedicated to what I say. So how do you do that? And he looked at me. It's like the only way for you to do that is if you accept yourself the way you are with all your flaws and all your virtues. Like love yourself the way you are, because if you accept the way you are, you look at other people and then you start seeing the love in other people. Because if you don't do that, then you don't see the person and you actually start stealing stuff. So it's like, because it's impossible for you to be whole if you don't respect yourself and accept yourself for who you are. And of course, I was 20 something at that time. And look, it's like, well, that's amazing. How do you do that? Right? Great answer. How do you get to the point of you accepting yourself and respecting yourself and solely doing this, right? Not that easy. And he looked at me and he smiled and it's like, I don't know if it's going to, if this is actually going to make sense to you. Hopefully, through the years, maybe you understand what I'm going to tell you. But there are three things that you need, right, for you to actually really get to that point. The first thing is for you to understand that the sun is not the center of the universe. You are. We are our center of our own universe, right? And it's like you need to understand that this is the first thing you need to understand. We are the center of our own universe. That's the first thing. Second, you need to put yourself in first place. Like, there's no way for you to do what you're doing if you don't put yourself in the first place. This has to happen. And it's like, and unfortunately, the modern world took a word and actually botched it. It's like, what it's probably going to be weird what I'm going to tell you, but you need to be egoistic with your time. Right? Because if you are not egoistic with your self-being to get whole, it will never happen. Because until you're not that way, when you do charity, whatever not, you're actually stealing something you don't have right now from some people, and so you're actually not really that whole. The only way really to start looking at other people is when you're totally acceptant of yourself and you put yourself in first place, and it actually needs to make sense to yourself, because it doesn't really matter. Because when it's like, martyr doesn't exist, all this shit, it doesn't exist, because if you die, you're lost, right? So you need to protect yourself. And the funny thing is, Becca, is he said, and the natural law shows it all the time. There's so many rules around there that actually prove that. For example, we all travel, correct?
Yep.
We all go to the plane, and when the stewardess comes up, it's like, in the case of the oxygen, mask will fall down. What is the law? What is the recommend? What do they tell you?
They always tell us you got to put it on yourself first, and then the kids or the people around you.
You need to take care of yourself, because it doesn't matter if you help the entire plane and you die. It doesn't really matter, right?
No.
So this actually followed my entire life, and that's why actually he gave me the book as a gift. And when you read the book, actually all of those stories are there, like to understand how important it is for you to put yourself first, for you to actually really understand whether something is for you or not, and have the courage to tell people, this is not good for me. I need to take care of me first. And sometimes that means to go against family, partners, people. But once you understand that you are the most important being in the world, and that you need to take care of yourself and you need to accept yourself the way you are, because we are humans and humans are not perfect. We have a lot of flaws, and that's okay. We need to first accept that we are flawed, and it's okay too. That perfection doesn't exist. We do the best we can, and once we accept that, the whole world changes and the whole perspective of people changes as well. That's
That
why
is,
it's important for me.
oh
The
my
book.
gosh, I love that. Well, and that just brings up the whole notion, and I don't know about, I'm sure you see it all the time with clients too. Like, we have so many clients who we work with where they give and give and give and give until they can give no more, and then they get burnout. Um, the relationships suffer with their spouses and their kids and their family and their friends because they've burnt the candle on both ends,
Exactly.
right? And so I always tell my clients, I'm like, you've got to take care of yourself first, right? And you have to create the ability to say no. Saying no
It's
is
important.
okay.
It's vital. And actually, it's not okay. It's vital. We need to understand to say no without feeling guilty,
Mm,
right? And I think as salespeople, we actually have this, I think, and Dana has ingrained this in me. When you're a great salesperson, you are someone that allows people to say no without feeling guilty. because there's so few opportunities where people say no and do not feel guilty because they're not really interacting with someone that's actually whole and understands that. Normally we feel super guilty when we say no because people do not want to hear the no because they want to put themselves in first place, because remember, they are the center of their own universe. So they always want to put themselves first, and that's okay. We just need to realize that it's okay for them to want to be the first, but you need to always make sure that you protect yourself and be the first, and be able to say
Right.
no. And the no, it has to be part of your life. That's why we teach our people how to do time management. That's how we actually understand it, right? That, so you don't have to work on the weekends. And how many clients, Becca? Impossible. I will never be able to say no. I have to have my phone 24/7 open. I'm like, no, you don't. And they're like,
No.
well, I'm going to lose all my clients. I'm like, well, I dare you. Just do it and try. And now if you lose someone, I pay for it. And I have not yet seen a real client lose or go away when you say, as a single mother, it's like, okay, I work Monday to Friday. On the weekends, I'm not working, but I'm going to see, I'm going to have your text message and everything, and I will answer everything on the first, in the morning on the Monday. If there's something emergency, I will send you a text message, whatever, but I'm not working because I have kids. I have a life too, and people understand it because they have lives too. So if you actually explain to them why, people understand. So
We got to create boundaries and expectations with clients, especially those of you in real estate, mortgage, financial advisors, insurance, construction, anything along those lines. As long as you set great boundaries and expectations of when you can follow up, all of those things, it will always work out.
yep, and that goes right along with communication, right? Which is another big issue, right?
Uh,
We sometimes talk to ourselves thinking that people understand what we're saying and we don't. So what you just said, Beck, is one of the most important things in life: expectations.
mm-hmm.
That's the other thing that I think Southwestern does a great job, is to actually explain how to do a real onboarding, how to get expectations, how to actually make sure that people are aware what you can give, what you cannot give, what you expect people to give, not give, align it, agree on it, because once you do that, it's hard for people to actually feel offended once you follow through what you promised. The problem is we don't do that, and that's why people get offended, right? Because we didn't create any expectations.
So good. So good. So being down in Brazil, Dietrich, you stay so busy, and you do so many things, but I would love to know, tell people, what do you do? Like, how do you, you know, um, de-stress when you take time off? Where do you love to go? What do you love to do? Fill us in.
Well, I've been blessed. So it's an expensive blessing, but I've been blessed. My parents always looked at me. My mom's like, we're not going to buy you fancy clothes. You're not going to get fancy cars. You're going to have education. So my mom said, we're going to pay for your education. You're going to live in a good place, and you're going to travel. But
Mm.
all the rest not. So I was very blessed. So I actually, my parents always took me to 3 different places in the world since I know myself as a human being, me and my sister, and that allowed me to pretty much know. I've been more than 300 cities. I know actually more all of the continents, and that's one of the reasons why my mom instilled. My mom is originally from Haiti, so my mom always explained to me, like, the more you speak the language, the more you can create real connections, the more you can actually connect, because you understand and you can actually speak with people. So I'm not that smart. I didn't learn them. I learned because in my house, every room that I lived since I was 1 year old, I had to speak a different language. So my mom actually forced different languages. So I had to speak it. So for example, at the mealtime, I had to speak German. At the TV, I had to speak Spanish, French, English, like in Portuguese. Like I had different rooms where I could speak the language. It was very tough because can you imagine when you're a teenager? I was a very, very horrendous teenager with my mom. Like, why do I have to speak German now? I don't want. Like a lot of fights. I thank her to God. I have no idea how she actually was able to keep up and to actually instill these rules, because it was very tough for me and my sister, but she was relentless. And nowadays, I have to thank her for that, because this is such a blessing, because they're mother tongues, right? I learned, like,
Yeah.
they're part of me. So actually, I speak them without even knowing why I speak them, but they're with me. So so traveling is something I love.
I love
Traveling
that.
actually compresses me. I love the beach, so we have a beach house. So every time I can here in Brazil, I go to my beach house. Very fortunate to have a beach house that's in front of the ocean where I can walk. Um, I do Vipassana. Vipassana is it's once a year. I stay 10 years without talking. So we go to a retreat where we talk 10 years no talking. Um, and that's something that I instill myself. So meditation is part of me. So one of the things that I do a lot is meditate. I am a certified mindfulness practitioner. So I do mindfulness as well because it's great to align. And I think it was a savior for me for during the pandemic to actually understand what mindfulness brings as a benefit to our body. And of course, I've been singing since I was young. So I understand I'm German and I used to live in Germany. Germany is kind of like Russia. It's where when you're very young, they do a lot of exams and tests with you, right, to see what you're good at. So
Hmm.
they already told me when I was 3 or 4 that I was very good at music. So I was already engaged in the music since I was young, because so I, in Germany I did the flute, I did the piano and everything. And when I went to Brazil, I went to German school, so I continued my singing career. So I always sang since I was young, and then here I joined the theater and everything else. So music for me is my sixth language, I could say. Music really, really alleviates me. So whenever I am stressed or whatever, no, I just need to sing, and this is, it's a time, it's a savior. And obviously, not obviously, I love to dance. I participate in the carnival in Rio, in Brazil, since 1989. When I was in Indiana University, I was a salsa teacher. So dancing is also very, very important to me. And it also relieves me. So sometimes people are crazy. Sometimes I turn everything out and I just dance in my room, and all of this brings the energy up, right? So it's one of the things we teach in coaching, right? You all, as a tip, right? We should understand the 10 things that actually lift us up, and we should sprinkle them through our week, because it will always keep our energy up. And they're simple things, right? So if you remember what you liked when you were young, like when you're right young, when you were a teenager, when you went to college, what are the things that you did that actually lifted your energy up? Because sometimes we forget that adults, there were so many easy ways that when we were kids, we did some things that actually lifted us up. If we recuperate, if you actually bring it to our adulthood and start putting it into our schedule, it actually does a very good job to maintaining our motivation up. So yes, singing, dancing, reading, and meditation nowadays are the things that I really love to do, and traveling.
I love that. Well, and I know like every time we're all together in at our global summits and you and Omar are together, like you guys get everybody up and dancing, and it's just we just have a good old time, and I love it.
Yes, dancing was always part of me. So, uh,
What is okay, so because you've traveled to over 300 cities, what is your top favorite either city or country? I'm going to make you
I
think
know,
about
because everybody wants that. Everybody asks me that question. What's the best? And I keep
it.
telling people there's not the perfect place, because every place is beautiful and everybody has flaws, right? There's no perfect
That's
place.
right.
Um, oof. I do have to say there's a couple of places that I really like. Um, Brazil being one of them. So there are places in Brazil that I love. The north part of Brazil, so Bahia, and you're going to realize there are beach cities. I
Love it.
really love beach cities. Rio is
Me.
it's a place that I love. I wish it would be a little bit more safe, but I love Rio. When we go to the United States, I actually love Florida. I love New York. I love California. I actually happened to fall in love with Spokane, Washington, which I have never known. And now, because I have some clients in Spokane, I actually went to visit them, and I was fascinated with the, the whole vegetation that is so I am not used to it. Um, and there's other stories there. When you go to Europe, there are places that I really like. So, for example, I adore Spain. So, if you're going to Madrid, if we talk, um, I love Berlin. Greece is absolutely fascinating for me. I do like Japan. I would live there, but I love to visit Japan. Japan is actually very unique when you see different cultures, and that's a culture that I feel very touristy because I don't speak Japanese, so I now feel like everybody else. So sometimes I like that too, because I cannot
Yep.
communicate at all in Japanese. Um, and there is and I like some islands. So if we like, so there's I love. So if you go to Bahamas, it's absolutely amazing. I love Bahamas. I love what's the Trinidad and Tobago. Obviously, I have to
Yeah.
say Haiti, but Haiti right now it's dangerous. Unfortunately, I
Yeah.
used to love Venezuela for. I'm so sad that Venezuela is suffering. Venezuela is absolutely gorgeous, and again, we cannot go there anymore. I love Chile. So if you have not been to Chile, because I do like to ski as well. So even though I love the beach, I do like to ski. So I love to
Okay.
ski in Chile and in Spain. The rest is too cold. And then during the summertime, and I specifically say summertime, I do like Quebec and Montreal.
Okay.
Summertime. Because winter, my aunt lives there, but wintertime, absurd. It's under 20 and the 30s. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of having our job. So I
It is.
actually have been wanting to have a job where I can live anywhere I want to and be with
Hmm.
whoever I want to, because one of the things that I hate is vacation, because vacation for me doesn't work. Because you have like 15 days, you run around like crazy, you do the same thing, you go to the same restaurant, you do this stuff, like you run around, you come back home tired, and you have never had a real connection. So
Hmm.
when I entered Southwestern, and now with the pandemic, and now that we actually can do everything online, my biggest dream has come true, which is I can actually do this job anywhere in the world. And so after my goal is to be living for the rest of my life 4 months in some place for the rest of my life to actually create real connections. So if I want to see my sister, I want to stay there 4 months so that I actually can
Love it.
interact with my sister. If I want to go to Canada, I want to stay. If I want to go to Spain to see my family, I want to stay there not one day. I want to actually stay there 4 months to actually interact with the community, interact with my people. So I actually sold a lot of things. I don't have, my parents got all crazy about it. I'm like, I want to live my last 50 year, like my 50% of the remainder of my life here, creating real relationships. Because again, once I realized that selling is about creating real relationships, I want to do it myself. So for me, it's very important to really start living the way I really would like to, which is creating sincere, realistic relationships. And the only way you can do this is actually staying a while, actually experiencing the place, being able to be with your friends or whoever needs, right? And having this opportunity that when someone needs me, that I can say, okay, I can be there tomorrow and get the plane, be there, and help them if I need you or not. And then, of course, all the cities. So I have my top priority cities, but I have my top priority people, and the people will always make it a bigger issue. So I didn't answer your question, Becca, as a favorite place, but yeah,
I
there's so
love it
many
though.
great places. Though the world is just so amazing, and that's the virtue of being able to see so many places that you start realizing that the beauty in life is not the sameness, but the beauty in life is the difference and the diversity. It's so amazing to see so many different people and to realize how great they are and how beautiful they are. The differences for me makes inspire me, right? A lot of people are scared of differences, but I hope one day they will not.
That's right. Openness and acceptedness is key.
It is.
I love that. So I love ending on this question, Dietrich. What is the funniest story you can share with us about you growing up? I know you've got a lot of them, but I would love for you to share one of the funnest
I chose
stories.
that story because it's still for me, right? I always told my parents, like, if you do this all the time, do we get younger? So what I experienced was very crazy. We were in Japan with my family, and then we actually flew with British Airways to Las Vegas because we actually were going through Los Angeles, Las Vegas. We did all the beautiful things, see the canyon and all the stuff, right? So um, we left. So the plane left at 10 o'clock in the morning from Japan, and then right, the flight is long. So we arrived in Los Angeles, and then and it's we travel a lot, so that's why this is funny, because we are always so used to the jet lag and whatever not. But it was fascinating because our watches, everything was wrong, because when we got there, it was 9 o'clock in the morning of the same day, which it's weird because the brain could not even wrap around it. So We left at 10 o'clock in the morning and arrived at 9 o'clock in the morning. So we actually arrived 1 hour before we left from Japan, right?
That is
So,
crazy.
right, to understand, our hotel bookings were wrong. Everything was wrong because obviously, right, when we book hotels and everything else, we're leaving on the 9th, we arrive on the 10th, right, and we book stuff on the 10th, right? But what we didn't realize is that we leave on the 9th, we arrive on the 9th, and actually we arrive earlier, which so for a long like for hours, me and my parents were discussing like, is this true? Where are we? What's going? Like it was horrible. Like my whole brain was wrapped around that the watches were wrong. We couldn't even go into the schedule or even to our phones, like because everything was wrong. Right?
Oh my
We
God.
have to actually trust people for something that our body couldn't even understand because we would ask everyone, is this really the 9th? Is this really 9 o'clock? Are we crazy? Like, what's going on? Like, does this really exist? Because what happened is that from Japan to Los Angeles, we actually go against the rotation of the world. So
Right.
actually, yes. In theory, if you did it like I don't know if y'all remember Superman's movie that was I think the number one Superman movie where I think someone dies and he cries and he goes back and returns to the world. So I'm like, it makes sense because I
Right.
experienced it just for 1 hour, so I was able to go 1 hour back in time. But it's crazy, and still to this point, I'm like, does this really happen, or was it just our imagination? And how does it even? Like, are we there when we leave because it's 10 o'clock there and we're 9 o'clock? So all those crazy questions come up, and to this point, this was for me the funniest thing in life because again, I was not prepared for that.
Right. I don't, now that you say that, I don't think it clicked that that actually happens, right? You like until you do it, right? So I
Crazy.
love that. Such a fun story. Thank you for sharing.
No problem.
Dietrich, thank you for being on Talk with Coach. I have
So yes.
loved sharing the world, you and everything that you stand and exude all this positive energy. So I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Everyone, you are welcome. Everyone, this wraps up another empowering episode of Talk with Coach. I hope you found today's insights valuable and actionable. Remember, growth is a journey and every step forward counts. If you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on the YouTube channel and on Spotify for more inspiring content. And hey, I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts, questions, or topic suggestions by reaching out to us on social media or through our website. Until next time, keep striving for greatness, keep pushing your limits, and remember, your success story is waiting to be written. This is Becca Goldsberry signing off. Take care and make it a blessed day.